Octopus is a green energy retailer here in the UK, using technology to drive down the cost of green energy for everyone and to deliver outrageous customer service. So energy is a competitive market. Here in the UK, there are about 70 energy retailers fighting ferociously to win customers. And for us, innovation is finding new ways to win and keep customers. So every day we're looking at what can we do to make our customers happier, bring costs down for customers, to create new services. A great example would be, if we look at the fundamentals of the way energy needs to change, we need to move to a renewable grid as quickly as possible. And when we think about what that will involve, it'll involve things like having much more, instead of having a few hundred big centralized generation plants, we'll have tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of individual generation plants, solar farms, wind farms, solar panels on people's rooftops. And to make that happen at scale, we'll need a smart grid so that you only pay for the distance an electron has traveled, rather than the current world where we treat them all as though they've gone from Inverness to Cornwall. And the technology to do that is only going to come about if people innovate it. So we've, long ahead of any regulation in this space, started to innovate that technology because we want to make that world happen faster. And I think what that'll do is, from our point of view, it'll enable us to win more customers and bring costs down for our customers. But for the system and for the nation, it'll enable us to adopt renewable energy faster. That's a great example for me of how a company can take responsibility to innovate way beyond what we're asked to do in consultations and regulatory consultations. So I think we've won 750,000 customers, 1.5 million energy accounts in 3 years. So without being hubristic, I think we're demonstrating some success, although we've got so much further to go. That's all driven by innovation. For example, the way we organize ourselves. Our customers are not looked after by a call center and then a bunch of back office functions. They're looked after by small, hugely customer-centric teams. Each team has about 9 people, look after 55,000, 60,000 customers. And that lets us give a level of service, but also operate with a degree of efficiency that gives us a competitive edge. Not only that, but then we use the efficiency savings to pass on lower prices to customers, and we create better jobs for people that work here. All of that comes from this kind of fundamental drive for innovation. Competition. I think when you've got to fight for every customer in the marketplace, particularly one which is traditionally seeing what we hear about high levels of disengagement. The only way of doing it is by waking up every day thinking about what more can we do for customers? How can we organise ourselves around customers? What is it that customers really want, even if they don't know it? But that's our heritage. Like so many other sectors, that's the way we've always seen the world. We're privileged. Because we built our technology stack over the last 2 or 3 years from scratch, we've been able to create a colossal data store that holds currently 35 billion rows of data. Everything from every phone call, every email in and out, every bill, every time someone switched to us or away from us, every price, 30,000 competitive prices a day, and every half-hourly meeting for every customer. And we put all that together so that we can answer complex questions. If someone's direct debit was increased this month because they were running up debt, have they been more likely to leave us? Or if they spoke to someone, had a great conversation, were they more likely to stay with us? And all those kind of questions enable us to really get to the heart of every impact of every decision on customers. And also, by the way, by having clean data, lets us run things like machine learning algorithms. So a great example is we have 750,000 customers, a couple of hundred operations staff. And if we ran with standard ratios, we'd probably need 5 or 6 workforce planners just to deal with customer operations. And we have none. And that's because we have a machine learning algorithm that does a far better job of predicting and forecasting the load upon our ops team, and then automatically scheduling. So I think both as a kind of an ability to serve customers and an ability to be efficient, data's been core. But what I would say is really interesting. When I joined energy, people always said to me the data in the energy industry is terrible. In fact, there are huge £100 million projects at Ofgem to tidy up the data. But the reality is, I used to work in fast-moving consumer goods, like shampoo for Procter & Gamble, and we didn't know who was buying our product. You don't get a name and address when someone goes into a supermarket. You don't get to see how often they go. You don't get to see how often they switch between brands. So the amount of data we get in a sector like this, and it will be the same in water, is dramatically more helpful than you get in most other sectors. So I think when I hear people in utilities talking about poor quality data or not enough of it, I must admit, I've never felt more privileged to have access to so much data to do a better job. Yeah, look, I mean, my team get bored of me quoting examples from Tesla, Amazon, Google, companies that have revolutionized the world, Apple. All of these companies have actually got lessons for all of us. Not because of the products they sell or because of the, in the case of Amazon, of course, there's some amazing things about Amazon and some things that we may not like as much. But we can learn a lot there about things like customer centricity. There's a great quote from Jeff Bezos at Amazon. It says, there are companies that work hard to increase the prices for their customers, and there are companies that work hard to keep costs as low as possible. We will be the latter. If you look at their relentless focus on driving down costs, the ability they show to reduce costs through incredible, kind of logistical skills is something that should be inspirational to all of us. Now, of course, when we talk about Amazon region, of course, some people will worry about the conditions of employment for their warehouse workers. I share that. We would never be that company, but we can learn so much else from that relentless focus on things like the ability to get a package to someone within 2 hours, when just a few years ago, 2 days was thought to be fast. It's sped up. That's 48 times faster. It's now down to 1 hour. So I think the big challenge in regulated sectors is everyone starts by assuming that a lot of the world has to be the way it is today. And what we can learn from the likes of Amazon, Tesla, is there are so many dimensions we can challenge those assumptions on. And actually, in a world where we think costs just keep going up, we should be bringing them down. I just don't buy it. I think as a company, we have the ability to spend relatively small amounts of our, as a utility, high income. We can spend very small amounts investigating areas of innovation, and we can take those to regulators. Be good for customers. Regulators go with them. I think one of the great shames actually is you end up in this world where companies end up in a dance with the regulator, where they're trying to justify the world as it is today. But the winning companies, the ones that will generate genuine long-term shareholder value, are those who will start bringing to the regulator the world of tomorrow. And we found regulators just open their arms to that. Colossal. I mean, look, our only real incentive is to build a long-term valuable business. And so to do that, we want customers who love us and who are going to stay with us, so that in the long run we earn back the very high cost to acquire. Our investors are Octopus Investments, one of the sort of very significant investment funds in the UK. They've invested about £2.5 billion in renewable generation, and also about £1 billion in ventures. So, for example, they're responsible for Secret Escapes, Love Film, Graze, Magic Pony, SwiftKey, a whole bunch of British innovative success stories. But the secret to that is letting the experts, the people who run the business, rather than being second guessed. And I think this speaks so much in regulated sectors and companies like ours with investors, which is the experts who second guess you are so often wrong if you want to innovate and drive change. You've got all those famous quotes like the British, the expert from IBM that said, there'll be a worldwide market for half a dozen computers. Thank goodness someone else felt different. The people at Nokia that thought that, following lots of consumer research, there would never be a market for a touchscreen, internet-connected mobile phone. Thank goodness Steve Jobs believed and was willing to stick his neck out. You need management teams to be free to drive forward with innovation, because you're never going to arrive at it by committee or by research. Yeah, look, so we realised that smart meter data, which we've only got for a percentage of our customers because the smart meter is not complete, but enabled us to use machine learning to identify people who clearly had homes that have got a problem. When the weather drops, they're using dramatically more heat than similar homes for the same drop in temperature. So we wanted to reach out to those and help them. But of course, everyone's got used to that bland, only fill your kettle halfway, or make sure you've got loft insulation messages. So we want something to get cut through. What we realised was it needs to be really targeted on their home. And the best way of doing that was to send them essentially a thermal imaging camera that plugs into a mobile phone and lets them take sort of thermal image photos of the home and spot where the heat issues are. And then they can get a really personalised prescription rather than those bland messages that people have quite understandably learned to screen out. You've got to hire. You've got to be hiring, and then you've got to be allowing people to innovate. A great example, right? The young people that you're recruiting to entry-level jobs in your business are arriving from a world where they are using tools every day that are rocket science to companies, and yet are their norm. It was about a decade ago that I spotted a couple of people in my office sending messages to each other via instant messenger. I was like, what are you doing? This is work. And they said, I know, we're just discussing the next release of our software. And I've realised they'd innovated into the company a new way of communicating. Now, of course, that's normal now in companies, but we discovered that very early in our life because, we kind of spotted these young people doing it. And I think a really good question then is, how do you as a management team allow and encourage people to do stuff that is different than you've asked them to do because it's better? And that's what you've got to hire into it. I think every role now should be someone who has got the ability, either already or through training, to think about technology solutions to the problems they face. And plenty of roles, a reasonable smattering across the organisation, have got to have the freedom to start implementing those. Innovation shouldn't sit in a shed somewhere. You can do that as well, that's cool, but you've really got to say, look, who's going to innovate best in customer service? It's going to be the people that are doing that job today. And so you've got to free them up and incentivise them to do it. I think Jeff Bezos, to quote him again, he's got a letter that he sent to shareholders a couple of years ago on how Amazon make decisions. He said, look, there are big decisions, bet the company, big risky decisions, right? Those ones we need to sweat. The ones that are going to be, none of them are bet the company, but the ones that are going to be, really significant for the company's resources. But most decisions are reversible, and most decisions are not going to put a life at stake. Most decisions are much smaller than the agony people put into them. And he says we've got to make those decisions quickly. We've got to make them with 70% of the available information. So we just keep moving. If we get it wrong, and we'll get it wrong 30% of the time, we can just roll them back or build upon that. But the real problem is if you don't make those decisions, if you're not going to make decisions with 70% of the information and that have got some degree of risk, then you're never going to make the moves forward that you have to make if you're going to generate a business that is worthy of the privilege you got in running it. Well, we've just announced that we've done a deal with a company called Hanwha, a Fortune 500 Korean conglomerate, to launch an energy retailer in Australia using our technology. So the most exciting thing for us, and this is a great example of it, is the technology we've innovated, not because the regulators made us, but because we want to build a better business here in the UK, is now creating the opportunity for us to license it globally. So I think for us, that's super exciting because it's not only going to create dramatically more shareholder value, but for everyone on the team that's responsible for this, it's furthering our mission of driving affordable renewable energy on the biggest possible scale, and it's creating really exciting career opportunities.